What's up, everybody? Fox here, aka Booch, and today is MP5 day. Misha sent me and J-Ro down to the range. We're gonna do a little bit of running gunning, do something a little different, hit some steel, and really put these MP5s to the test. So, once again, this is MP5 day.
Hi, Misha here, and if you couldn't tell, this might be a little bit of a different video. And we're going to revisit not one, but two POF MP5 types because they're recently back in the country. Typically you see them sold by Atlantic, but they're actually imported by Fed Arms right here in Arkansas, actually not far down the road. In my hands is the somewhat smaller POF 5K or MP5K. And over here, we have the slightly larger POF 5 MP5 style. Now, not only are we going to talk about these being back in, this video is mostly going to be from my cousin, Fox Booch, because he decided to not buy one, but both of these, because mostly they're imported here in Arkansas. You've had my take on these guns since 2014. We're going to get a fresh take, and from a younger generation with probably a lot more activity. In other words, you won't have to drink coffee to stay awake in this video. He'll probably keep you going. So with that, let's hand it over to Fox Booch, my cousin.
Check the gun. Well, first thing I can talk about is how she ran, how they shot, and if I enjoyed it or not. We did have a couple of feeding issues with the magazines. However, those two mags were not broken in whatsoever, brand new right out of the box. And the same thing happened to the second one as well. But for the rest of the day, 300 rounds later, no issues, no feeding issues at all.
Me again, just to add to what Fox said, the two mags that he had issues with, that was early rounds out of his K model. And I asked him what type they were. One was actually POF and one was an MKE. So that leads me to kind of believe it was a break-in issue. I hate saying that because people tend to use that as a catch-all excuse. And magazines really are important to a gun. I really do recommend getting HK or at least MKE or POF. But understand that with these roller lock or roller delayed guns, the shorter they are, the more of a break-in period they really truly do need. I don't mean thousands of rounds, but 50 to 150, 200 max. If it's still not working well for you after that, after 4 or 5 boxes, then you have issues. But yeah, I wanted to add that those are the mags that he had some issues with. But later on in the day, the mags seem to be working just Jim Dandy.
How it feels in the hand, I'm going to jump into that just because it's very well still on my mind. I did have gloves on all day, and you can see here I've actually put a little bit of grip tape on this because I had shot the MP5K prior to today on my last range trip. It really likes to rub your middle finger, so whenever you're up on the gun throughout firing it, you'll definitely notice you're going to get a little bit of a finger rub on there. You might be able to file that down. Yeah, fit and finish, I have no complaints with this. Fit and finish right out of the box, it looked really, really good. I know a lot of people kind of complain about that on these POFs, about how the finish isn't the best. And it's like what I always say, I rattle can a lot of my guns anyways. But yeah, I think it looks really good. You could always do a Cerakote job, but I really don't want to cover up the imported to Fort Smith, Arkansas, because that's where I was born. Kind of get into how smooth it runs. No complaints there. It was almost like shooting a 22. You know, it is an MP5. Have no complaints with how it ran. Minimal recoil is pretty easy to keep on target. Probably a lot of keeping it on target was made easier because of the Holosun 507C. I do really like that red dot on this with an MFI pick rail. After putting about 150 rounds, we did notice it started to loosen up a little bit. However, I just thrown that on today just for this range video, kind of sighted it in real quick. But nonetheless, it run really good. I think really you're going to get the best benefit from this pistol with a brace or SBR it. And yeah, like I said, no severe failures or anything that I would be worried about. I would like to talk about the paddle here. Empty mag here. Whenever I'd first handled this gun right out of the box, I noticed the paddle is extremely stiff. I thought, well, maybe that's just like the safety lever here, just needs to be broken in. However, once you get the mag in there, it kind of releases that pressure where it's pretty effortless to pull that dude out of there. So yeah, that was kind of something at the house. Whenever I'd pulled it out, I was like, well, that's just going to take a little bit of time to break in. Safety, right before we shot, probably did that 100 times, breaking that safety in. And yeah, now it runs extremely smooth. Mag release, smooth. I have not got to use the secondary mag release yet. I probably should have tried that today, but we did not. Didn't even think about it.
This is often called the POF 5K or MP5K. That's not 100% true. It's kind of its own creation. A bog standard MP5K has a short 4.5-inch barrel, and it has a shortened receiver in the back with a pin on top and a pin on bottom. It's an interesting thing, but it does require a special receiver and other things. This is a hybrid, and this isn't something that was licensed from HK. In fact, as far as I know, which means I'm probably wrong, POF's the only one that makes a select fire for military police use of what we call in America a reverse stretch. That means it has a standard receiver, standard end cap for an MP5, but then a shorter front end. And POF calls this the SMG PK for Pakistan. HK wasn't happy about this configuration, but yeah. So this is kind of a unique gun. Now the military version would have a sliding shoulder stock, A3 style, not a side folder. Now, like I said, this is not even a K front end because it has a 5.9-inch barrel. This is more what we would think of as an MP5 PDW front end. It is threaded 1/2x28 again. It has the tri-lug, but it still has the shorter K cocking tube, and it takes the shorter K and PDW handguard. Interestingly, most of your MP5Ks don't have the front sling loop. Some don't even have the clip here. So this really is more of a PDW, just with a reverse stretch rear. Also, the rear sight on a true K, this is what they call a castle rear sight, where it's open topped. Since this is the machine gun style closed, it's more like the PDW. Otherwise, it's the same top scope mount, although it has to be moved a little bit. Same steel lower. And as I said earlier, I put the compact 15-round mag in it, but it comes with a 30. What I've noticed myself, and this kind of is backed up by Fox's experience, these tend to need a little bit of break-in. And I say that even talking about other K styles, for example, my own MKE. But once they do break in, they tend to be as reliable as a full size. You just have a shorter throw. So, you know, they tend to have a little bit stiffer springs. But really the only difference is about 2.5 inches, and this needing a different handguard versus the other one. So it's kind of up to you what you prefer.
So the way I have this one set up, currently with the MFI pick rail. This rail held up really good today. After about 100 rounds, we did tighten it up. Luckily, we had an Allen wrench on hand. You know, that's pretty normal. I tightened it or threw it on at the house. Wasn't really expecting it to be fully tightened. So once we were able to, you know, about 100 rounds through it, we seen it kind of loosened up in the back here. So I do like this MFI pick rail. Hollow Sun 507C X2. I absolutely love this red dot. Seems to work extremely well on this MP5. I've ran it on a couple of different pistols, so I'm really comfortable with it, which is probably a lot of the reason why it was so easy to keep on target today, you know, putting 300 rounds through it. I would definitely recommend SBRing it. I know there's quite a few options for the pistol braces and the pick rails. However, I kind of want the collapsible one that runs through these grooves right here. I think that's just about perfect. And of course, either a hand stop or a foregrip. I do have bigger hands, and it wasn't really an issue for me holding onto this gun and worrying about anything going out for anything to be dangerous. So,
me again, since Fox has talked about braces versus SBRs, and again, since this is a reverse stretch, it takes the same end pieces as the full size. I brought out my gun here. This is actually the HK version that you've seen before. And it has the retractable arm brace with multiple positions. And I think this really kind of saves these as pistols because it looks like an A3 stock. It's not a stock, it's a not stock. It's an arm brace. But the fact that it can be adjusted with a few positions and has a lever, it's even quick removable if you want to just pull it off. It's made of metal. It's a good option, it really is, especially for just a 9mm gun. So that's one. You can also get a side folding version and even a fixed version. There's all kinds of versions. But that's kind of my solution. I didn't want to SBR in the actual HK gun, so that's what I did instead, and we've shot it several times. I'll take you back over to Fox.
So right here, I'd like to talk about how the gun feels in the hand. I do have the grip tape on here for a reason. It's not just for looks. If you look right here, it kind of has this groove that pokes out just enough to where it really rubs the inside of your finger. Even with gloves on all day at the range, with even minimal recoil, man, that could really, if you were throwing, you know, 500 to 1,000 rounds in a day, which who does that in a pistol, you're probably going to feel it. It's not anything to whine about. However, you may be able to file that down if that's something you're into, but that's kind of the beauty about owning a POF MP5 is the price point. You're not out, you know, $3,000 for an MP5. So you can probably go ahead and knock that down or just do the cheap fix and double the tape up. And that should solve your recoil and finger friction. All right, and this is the standard POF MP5, the standard size pistol. We'll clear it out. I always throw the mags back in these because I think if you're going to do a gun review, especially holding it like this, I really like the magazine in it. Kind of gives you the full MP5 look. Let's start with the fit and finish. Same thing with this. The fit and finish is not bad right out of the box. You can see there's a little bit of white smidge on the S for the safety. The red and the E, not too shabby. But then again, I mean, I can't complain about the fit and finish, especially with the price point on these guns. Go Cerakote it. I've seen people put paint thinner, pull this off, primer it, paint it themselves. But I don't think I'm going to worry about doing any of that. So I do like on the full size, you have a longer cocking position here. Makes it a little bit easier for pulling that back, and especially not having a pick rail on the top. So with this one here, I may not do a pick rail like I did on the MP5K. How the MP5 shot, this one actually had 0 issues at all. And even going back to the MP5K, I 100% believe it was magazine related because throwing it in this after breaking those magazines in, no issues. This one was a little easier to keep on target, I'm sure because it weighs just a little bit more. So yeah, shot really good, easy to keep on target, extremely comfortable. The safety selector is also a little easier out of the box to maneuver than the MP5K. But then again, just needs to be broken in a little bit more. Same issue right here. I noticed shooting, it's just rubbing a whole lot. That's definitely not anything that changes my mind on how I feel about this gun. It's just wrap it up. Future plans with this, I think this one's probably going to get an SBR as well. I'm probably going to just bypass the brace, maybe do the old school wood look. I really like this. It's kind of gives it the classic AK look, and you know, myself and Misha are both about that look. The foregrip, I would really like to probably do a flashlight mount. I think this would be a better setup for a home defense or something you could use along those lines. But yeah.
Me again. POF, not the American company, a much older company, Pakistan Ordnance Factory, dates back to 1951. And it was set up in Pakistan, a newly independent nation, with the assistance of the British. And they would acquire the rights, the licensing to produce the G3 as well as the MP5 from HK, Heckler & Koch, in Germany, which was becoming a very popular gun in the 1970s and 80s. So these are built on original tooling, and the original setup was done by the Germans, although it's been many a year since they were there, to be fair. That's why the upper spine marking does say MP5. Pretty neat. And it has the year marking as well, 20 for 2020, 21, 22, you get the idea. And then it has the Fed Arms import marking on the side. Otherwise, it's pretty devoid of extraneous markings, with just a safe semi-lower. This one here, a different example from what Fox was shooting. The selector is actually very smooth. It's one of the nicer selectors I've actually felt on one of these. Anywho, so this has basic specs. You have roughly an 8.5 inch cold hammer forged chrome line barrel. It is threaded 1/2 x 28. It comes with a thread protector and a cap. Has the tri-lug behind it. So this is kind of a navy profile. Standard protected front sight post. This takes full length standard MP5 handguards. Standard full length MP5 top cocking system. It does have the mounting points for a scope rail on top, claw mount. Standard rear diopter enclosed, so submachine gun style with 4 positions and adjustable. It has mounting points for a 3-point sling back here, here on the magwell, and in the front. As we've already talked about, it has both the paddle mag release and the push button, but the push button was only there for emergency use. The paddle was the standard. And what was really neat about the POFs when they first came into the country back in 2014, they were really the first ATF approved semi-autos to have a true push pin lower right here. Before that, if you saw a pin here on a semi-auto, it was typically what they call the clipped-in pin lower. So it was a faux pin. But this has a real. Now the reason they're able to get away with that, to make it semi, there's a blocking bar in here that prevents an auto sear in the trigger pack, and there's also a blocking bar welded in the rear of the upper to keep a full auto carrier from going in. You got to do what you got to do for the ATF. Otherwise, we've got a quite nice paint finish. I do think POF has improved the finish over the years. It's still not HK quality, but you know, it's better than it used to be. Steel lower, so old school style, and it has the non-ambi polymer pistol grip. Notice the lump there, and then the one for the finger here. So it's not the Navy style. And then of course we have what is essentially an A1 receiver cap with a metal sling swivel. This is a full length receiver. Really this is a standard MP5 circa, you know, late 70s. That's why it says MP5 on the top. Each gun, full size or the compact, comes with the same accessories. and you get a little bit more than you used to. Of course, you have the firearm, the pistol itself. Comes with one 30-round mag. These can actually be POF, or if they're out of those, something else, but they are steel painted standard MP5 9mm mags. One thing that's a little new from the older versions, you do get a inexpensive but still useful soft case that's actually big enough if you do want to SBR or add a brace. So for a little extra protection, inside the soft case itself, you get a plastic bag, good for waterproofing, and actually the soft case comes inside a cardboard box, so plenty of protection there. And the manual just fell out, so I guess it's wanting to be talked about. People like these manuals because they're kind of a copy of the military manual with some extra pages added to the back. Pretty thick. Glossy paper until you get to the back part where they added the pages, then it is less so. So you get a manual, kind of pocket sized. One mag case. Not bad for a gun that retails right now for $1,100. One other accessory that's not shipped with these, but is available, you can get the compact 15-round mags from POF, which I really like in any size, but I especially like them in the K style. It just, I don't know, seems appropriate.
So how I would like to set this gun up in the future is definitely go ahead just like with the K and SBR it. I think the classic looking wood stock just really hits it at home for me. Probably for the foregrip right here, do maybe either a pick rail, but then again, I do like the H&K hand grip that has the flashlight built in. Really like that a lot as well. Probably gonna do something really similar like I did on the K, do a pick rail up here, 507C hollow sun, throw that dude on there, call it a day. Get a good sling for it. Gotta be something that you can be comfortable with and push aside if you gotta do the run and gun. Other than that, probably not a whole lot other than shoot it. So handling these both without stock, since neither one of them set up or with a brace or an SBR, I gotta say it was extremely easy to keep on target. The full-size MP5 here with iron sights, it was a little difficult to kind of bounce around because you're having to keep one eye closed. Versus with the K, you can keep them both open and have no problem seeing that hollow sun red dot. I really think you're gonna see the benefit of these guns really SBR'd or brace. They don't bounce around a whole lot. I was able to even one-hand it before we were rolling. We should have probably gotten that, but even one-handing, it wasn't bouncing around a whole lot. Holding on to it, pretty easy to keep on target, although I think to really enjoy this gun to its full potential, SBR pistol brace it, it's definitely coming in the future. So, what comes out of a range day when you have two extremely similar guns? Well, you got to pick which one you like the best, which is honestly kind of hard because I really like one for a reason I probably shouldn't. But I gotta say I like the smaller version, the MP5K, just a little bit more than the full size. And it's not because it's more comfortable, because to tell you the truth, with bigger hands, that's kind of a pain to cock that back. But I'm just thinking on realistic terms, and the majority of the reason why I jumped into these POFs is the price point. And that leads me to, with the price point, I want to be able to take this places. I want to be able to take it into the woods, four-wheeler rides, trips. I don't want to have to worry about banging and scraping it up. And this is a perfect backpack gun, especially if it's got the collapsible, whether it's the brace or an SBR stock. So this is going to take it for the win. However, don't sleep on the MP5 full size because it's honestly a little more comfortable to hold, easier to get your hand out there on. But then again, I think when they're both SBR'd, you're really going to see the full potential on both of them. But yeah, I really appreciate it. This is my thoughts, opinions on the POF MP5 and MP5K. I'm going to throw it back to Misha. Let him take it from here. Thank you.
Alrighty guys, well, please let us know how you like kind of this new style. Won't always be this way, but trying to bring more people in, get different perspectives. So feel free to give comments, suggestions, what you did like, what you didn't like, because it's always a work in progress. And as always, please do comment, like, share, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. You know the deal. And again, if you'd like to help support the channel, please check out the link to the Patreon. But if you can't, totally get that. So you heard, kind of Fox's take. He feels like this is a better backpack gun. This is a better home defense gun. I will agree that the full size is a little more stable in the hands. But thanks to the roller system, these aren't bad. Both of these are actually quite usable as pistols or brace guns. And they, very customizable. But I'd be interested to hear which one you prefer and why. Kind of have a discussion below. But I really do think the POF guns, when it comes to having an easily customized gun that doesn't break the bank, a shooter, it's amazing we have so many options for an MP5 today, because 20 years ago we had special weapons in Bobcat and that was about it. It really is a good time with MKE, POF, HK, plus a lot of good builders that do great custom work as well. So if it's not the golden age, it's the silver age for sure of MP5s. But again, hope you enjoy the video. Please let us know what you think. This is Misha, and we'll both catch you very soon next time.